I spent an entire day bullying my toddler sister, making her cry, taking her toys, pushing her around. And just when I thought I'd gotten away with it, she hit me with the most calculated, silent revenge I've ever experienced. She was barely 3 years old, and somehow, she outplayed me completely. If you've ever seen karma hit someone instantly, you're going to love this one. Hit subscribe, drop a like, and stick around, because this story proves something terrifying. Even toddlers can plan revenge better than adults. Let's get into it. I'll start by saying this up front. I deserved everything that happened. No excuses. No sugarcoating. At the time, I was around 9 or 10 years old. My little sister? She was barely 2, maybe 3. There's about a 6.5-year age gap between us. And for the first half of our lives, we were like oil and water. Constantly clashing, constantly fighting, constantly trying to get under each other's skin. But this day, this wasn't just normal sibling rivalry. This was me at my absolute worst. It was the middle of summer vacation. You know that kind of slow, dragging day where time barely moves? The kind where boredom starts turning into something darker? Yeah, that kind of day. And for whatever reason, I woke up and chose chaos. I don't remember being angry. I don't remember being upset. I just remember this urge to pick on her. It started small, mocking her voice, repeating her words in that exaggerated, annoying tone kids use, taking toys out of her hands just to watch her reaction. At first, it was almost experimental, like I was testing how far I could push. And every time she frowned, every time her eyes watered, every time her tiny voice cracked into a cry, I kept going. Looking back, it's uncomfortable to admit this, but there's something about being older, bigger, stronger, that can trick a kid into feeling powerful. And that day, I abused that feeling. I made her cry over and over again, took her favorite toys, pushed her lightly, just enough to knock her balance, laughed when she got frustrated. It was cruel, petty, and completely one-sided. And the worst part, she didn't fight back. Not once. No tantrum. No screaming. No running to mom. Just quiet frustration, tears, and silence. At the time, I thought that meant I was winning. But what I didn't realize, she wasn't losing. She was watching, learning, waiting. Hours passed like that. Just me being a terrible older sibling, and her absorbing every moment, until eventually, nap time rolled around. Now, in our house, nap time was a routine. Mom would put my sister into her playpen, wait for her to fall asleep, then go lie down herself for a quick rest. Meanwhile, I'd be stuck doing some kind of summer learning activity. Reading, writing something boring. That day was no different. My sister went into the playpen, and this is important. She didn't resist. No whining, no crying, no fighting it. She just laid down, quietly. At the time, I thought, wow, guess I wore her out. And honestly, I didn't think about her again. I was focused on my work, completely locked in. So focused that I didn't hear anything else in the house. Not the subtle rustle of movement. Not the creak of the playpen. Not the tiny footsteps leaving the room. Nothing. Because while I was distracted, she was executing. See, my sister had always been the smart one. While I was the kind of kid who'd accidentally eat crayon tips and end up in situations that required poison control, she was different. Observant. Quiet. Calculating. And apparently, already capable of revenge. What I didn't know at the time was that she had pretended to fall asleep. Waited. Listened for mom to leave. Waited even longer just to be sure. Then slowly, carefully, she climbed out of the playpen. A 2-year-old, climbing out, alone, without making a sound. She made her way to the kitchen, opened the drawer, and picked something out. Not randomly, not carelessly, but intentionally. The heaviest utensil she could carry. Meanwhile, I was still sitting there, completely unaware, head down, focused, defenseless, and then, crack. A sharp, sudden impact exploded across the side of my head. Not enough to knock me out, but enough to stun me, enough to make the world tilt, enough to freeze me in confusion. For a second, I didn't even understand what had happened. Everything went quiet, ringing, blurry, and then I heard it, a tiny laugh, not loud, not chaotic, just satisfied. That's when it hit me. It was her. By the time I turned, by the time my brain even caught up to reality, she was already gone. No footsteps, no panic, no scrambling. She had already put the utensil back, closed the drawer, walked back to the room, climbed into the playpen, and laid back down, like nothing ever happened. By the time I stumbled to my feet and looked, there she was, curled up, eyes closed, perfectly still, sleeping, or at least pretending to be. I remember just standing there, confused, dazed, trying to process what had just happened. So naturally, I went to wake my mom. Mom. She hit me. She wakes up, groggy, confused, looks at me, looks at my sister, sleeping peacefully in her playpen. And you already know what happened next. She didn't believe me. Not even a little. From her perspective, her toddler daughter was asleep. Her older son was known for being a bit dramatic. And there were no witnesses, no evidence, no chaos. Just me, standing there, trying to explain how a sleeping toddler had just launched a surprise attack. Yeah, didn't go well. And honestly, I didn't even argue that hard. Because deep down, I knew I deserved it. That moment stuck with me, not just because I got hit, but because of how it happened. She didn't react emotionally. She didn't cry to mom. She didn't throw a tantrum. She waited, planned, executed, and got away with it at 2 or 3 years old. And the craziest part? That was the last time I ever bullied her like that. Not because I was scared, but because something shifted. It was like I suddenly realized she wasn't just my little sister. She was someone who could think, adapt, and if pushed, strike back. Fast forward to now. We're both older, way past all the childish fights. Actually on really good terms. We laughed about it recently, sat there reminiscing. And when she heard the story from my side, she just smiled. Didn't deny it, didn't apologize, just smiled. And honestly, that told me everything. Sometimes revenge isn't loud. It isn't explosive. It doesn't come with warnings. Sometimes it's quiet, patient, and perfectly timed. And sometimes it comes from the last person you'd ever expect. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life revenge stories that hit way too close to home. And I've got to ask, what's the most unexpected revenge you've ever seen or experienced? Drop it in the comments. Trust me, I'm reading every single one.